This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is August the 5th, 2025, here on a Tuesday. So glad you could join us here today. Coming up a little later on in the program, we're going to talk with the folks at agmarket.net to find out what's happening in the closing markets. But first, we are going to hear from Brandon Fonken. He is a Jewel, Iowa farmer, also runs a custom application business. We met him at the Hagie factory tour last month, and we talked about how his precision business and his farm use both John Deere and Hagie sprayers. He talks about why he has both of those sprayers available, and also talks about how he sees the future of the sprayer technology playing in family farms.
Talking right now with Brandon Fonken of the Jewel area, farmer and custom applicator here at the Hagie factory. Thanks so much for taking a few minutes to talk with us today.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so tell us a little about the business you run, NBC, and also talk about your farm operation out there by Jewel.
We spray about 75,000 acres a year. That's pre-emerge, post-emerge, Y-drops, fungicide, the whole gamut. And then me, my dad, and my brother, we farm approximately 3,600 acres between all of us. And this is kind of my quote-unquote off-the-farm job.
Okay, so obviously you were talking about when we were hearing from you in the session, you run Hagie and you run John Deere.
Yep.
Tell us a little about why you run both and what's the purpose behind having the front boom versus a rear boom.
They each have their purpose. The Hagie, I love the user friendliness of it, for lack of a better term. The boom out in front is so easy to see going along a fence, backing in or driving into corners. You can see right where you're at instead of trying to back in. The main reason for the Deere machine is it's a See and Spray Ultimate. So I have the ability to lay down a residual while See and spraying a contact product. So they each kind of have their role. And then I have another John Deere sprayer as well. And that one I bought mainly to apply dry fertilizer. And so it does have a liquid system on it, helps us out with pre-emerge and some post-emerge, but its main purpose is to spread dry because you can't do that with a Hagie.
All right, so talk about using the See and Spray. We've heard about that technology now for a couple of years. You said you wanted to be the first in your area to have it so that we could maintain customers and see how it's working. I mean, tell us a little about what kind of results you're seeing from that system.
It's been phenomenal. I mean, there's a lot of pushback in the industry for whatever reason. I don't know if that's coming from, retailers who are afraid their herbicide sales are going to get cut. I don't know if it's other custom applicators who are afraid if See and Spray takes over and they don't have a See and Spray machine, they're going to lose business. Just a big lack of confidence in it. But I mean, we've done it now for 4 years, I think, and it works phenomenally. We've saved a lot of herbicide, which I think is also very important, as you constantly see on the news and everything about all the nitrate levels, all the, the high cancer rates in Iowa. I mean, I think it's kind of our job to do everything we can as stewards of the land to reduce some of the herbicides that we're using. And so if you can save money, boost your yield, and have cleaner drinking water, I don't see a downside to it.
Now, you also had mentioned you do a TikTok channel as well.
Yeah.
And so you're able to show that to the general public, how you're cutting down that use. Is that a message that's being well received by people who don't understand agriculture as much?
TikTok is kind of odd because once you get stuck in a niche, it's hard to get out of your niche. Mm-hmm. And so every once in a while, you will have some of the general population who's very intrigued by it. Now, a lot of them are still very just averse to chemicals at all and think it should all be organic. And then, like I said, then you also get a lot of farmers who are complaining about the Deere subscription, for one. That's a big, like when I talk about See and Spray on my TikTok channel, that's one of the big things I get is, oh, Deere's got this dumb subscription. I would never give Deere money for that. Just that type of thing, talking about, how many times do you have to go out and spray it? There's just a lot of negativity in the market. And I don't know, I think that's just kind of farmers in general. They're slow, a lot of us are a little slower to adapt to new technology.
Now, when you're talking about the subscription rate, talking about that, paying that versus paying for the technology outright, I mean, what kind of cost are you looking at there?
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I like subscriptions. I shouldn't say I like them in a broad scheme, but I understand them, and I think they serve a good purpose because, I mean, Deere has put tons of money into R&D to get to See and Spray to the point where it is today. And obviously, any good company wants to recoup, their investment. And if they were going to do that, these things would probably cost $10 million, and you couldn't afford it. And if you did, even if you could, now I'm going to have to charge so much more to my customers to try to recoup the cost that I spent, that it makes it much more palatable with the subscription. The other big thing that I like subscriptions for is, I mean, technology, you know how it is. You buy a computer today, 3 months from now, there's a newer version out, and your computer is, pennies on the dollar if you wanted to sell it. So if you're kind of doing a pay-as-you-go model, you can kind of keep up with the latest changes without, breaking the bank, I guess, and making your system completely worthless after you just spent a fortune on it. Now the next model is out and you need that. I personally like the subscription.
Okay, and then you talked also about the fact that when See and Spray was first coming out, there was a lot of learning involved. It was also a little bit painful getting started, but seeing how it's progressed over the years, what do you see there?
It's every year they make it better. It's machine learning, and so the more you use it, and the more guys are using it. I think that was a big deal too for Deere. The way they changed their subscription this year, they went to, because it used to be $4 an acre for corn, or no, $4 an acre for soybeans, $3 an acre for corn, anytime you had See and Spray turned on. So it didn't take a genius to realize you pull into a field that's 70% dirty, or where you think you're going to be spraying 70% of the field. Well, we better just broadcast it because there's no use paying the subscription. Well, the downside of that too was none of these cameras were on, scanning weeds through the field because you turned them off because you didn't want to do it. So now that Deere has went to this subscription model, now there's no reason to turn it off. You might as well just leave it on because you're only going to pay when it doesn't spray and you save the money. So now those cameras are able to scan all the way across the field, and they're learning and continually getting better. I mean, it really is a phenomenal product.
Now, having both the rear-mounted booms and the front-mounted booms between the Haggies and the John Deeres, also having farmland of your own, obviously you can use the equipment that you already own versus having it for a custom application. Where do you see a line where farmers could benefit from having their own versus hiring someone to do it?
I think See and Spray changes that. I think that's a moving target. I've already talked to a lot of neighbors who, as these machines, like all machines, get more and more and more expensive, even your largest farmers, a 10,000, 15,000 acre farmer, it just gets hard to bite off one of these machines. So the way I've talked to a lot of my guys, and a lot of them honestly are pretty perceptive of it, is if I come to you with my See and Spray machine, and yeah, you've got your own broadcast machine, and if I can come to you and save you enough herbicide, I do the job for you. Maybe your cost is basically the same because you would have got the application for free, I saved you the herbicide. But if those costs basically offset, you've probably got other things you can be doing. You don't have to own the big machine. You can just hire somebody like myself, come in, knock the job out for you, who has the latest and greatest equipment. And I think that's, as we go forward, I think you'll see fewer and fewer farmers maybe own machines. Just my thoughts. I don't know.
And also we were talking about the See and Spray technology too, the rates, especially now when people are trying to cut costs without cutting corners, they're changing the rates of their herbicide. Where See and Spray, you can go with that full application because you're only basically spot spraying, kind of like we used to do with the soybean riders.
Exactly. That's a very good analogy. It's just like when we were out riding bean bars and spraying right where the weeds are. Basically, this thing is doing the same thing. And I think the other thing that's going to happen is I think we will see new technologies, new herbicides come to the market that maybe have been in the pipeline, but they'd cost $50 an acre or something like that, and they know nobody's going to go spend that. But if you could do it maybe in a See and Spray scenario and only spray, say, 40% of the field, and it's actually going to kill a weed, I think that might open some more avenues there as well.
All right, and then finally, talking from your business standpoint and also in your area in Jewel, what kind of pressures are you seeing out there that you're having to go out there and spray for this year? Mainly
water hemp. That's the everlasting weed, it seems. But honestly, we've had pretty good control this year. There's been a lot of liberty going on. And I think, we've had hot temperatures and there's been high humidity, and they say that's when liberty works the best. And because I really thought we were going to have to be spraying a lot of things 2 or 3 times because unfortunately when we should have been spraying post beans, it was too wet. A lot of the weeds got some size to them and thought we're never going to kill them. But honestly, the stars kind of aligned, and it's really, the weed control has been pretty darn good this year, to tell you the truth.
And outside of weed control, what about pests and diseases and even side dressing?
Disease is starting to show up. You can see it here and there. Insects, haven't seen a whole lot of those yet. The crop, it looks okay. I've been across a lot of fungicide, a lot of Y drops. So I've been in a lot of the cornfields, and what's there, I think very well could be 230, 240 bushel corn. The problem is there's a lot of missing spots this year that I think are going to be zeros. And then, of course, the edges of those ponds, are going to be, maybe 120. So I don't think we're going to see the field averages we've seen the previous couple of years, but it's going to be an overall decent crop, I think.
All right. So folks watching this, we'll shift away from Hagee. You want to learn more about what you're doing there with NBC Precision Spraying. Where do they find out that information?
Well, I just recently started a TikTok page. It's just at NBC Precision Spraying LLC.
All right. Thanks so much, Brandon. Appreciate it.
You bet.
That again was Iowa farmer and custom applicator Brandon Fonken. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, it's the closing markets. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
All right, here we go. We're back on Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and time to go through the closing markets. And we're being joined today by Sam Trainor of agmarket.net. Sam, what did we see happen in those grains today?
Nothing good here today. We had corn futures making new life contract lows. Soybeans started out a little firmer, but eventually gave way to the lower corn values and did trade lower as well. And wheat also was making new contract lows today.
So most of it, I'm assuming, is still weather. I know wheat's been going through the spring wheat harvest and stuff up, especially the Pacific Northwest. The numbers have been interesting. And then soy, had a good day on yesterday, but they were still expecting it to kind of still take that bearish tone with the crop reports and where we're at right now with conditions.
That's exactly right. Yesterday afternoon, we had crop condition ratings out, and levels that we are sitting at right now at the beginning of August, we're at the best levels we've been at for the last 9 years in corn. Soybeans have only been better than this 2 out of the last 9 years. So it's we're kind of at unprecedented levels in terms of how big this crop is going to get. And the old saying is that big crops get bigger. And that was no surprise there when we saw some private estimates come out yesterday afternoon looking for this crop to be a 188.1 is one of the private estimates putting that out here. As far as the national corn yield, that would represent a 3.9% increase over trendline yield. And when you look at 73% good to excellent corn ratings at the beginning of August, and you go back in history, it's not completely out of bounds to suggest that we might see something similar to that. Me personally, I think that's a little bit on the higher end. But next Tuesday, we will have USDA WASDE report, and USDA is going to have to do something here and come up a little bit here because this crop just looks to be in phenomenal shape and no real threats here in the near term.
And it's going to be interesting what USDA does. We've always said, it depends on what number they hit with the dart. So we'll have to see what they come up with. Moving over to the livestock side of things, cattle and hogs had a decent day yesterday. Were they able to continue that today?
Absolutely. Yeah, they were up sharply today. Looking at October fats finished up $3 higher, and the feeders were up over $5. So I think this just points back to last week when we saw that sharp sell-off. I think it's important to note that was the end of the month, last trading day of July. So you had a fund position that was looking to take some profits there at the end of the day. And it just goes to show you how fast this market can move if those funds decide to liquidate or get out of their positions. They were obviously pretty happy taking those profits last week. And ever since then, here in the month of August, we've been trading higher. I know the August contract is now in deliveries, but that made a new contract high today. Something we've seen in this market is that once a contract goes into delivery, it tries to rally and get up to those cash prices because we continue to trade at a discount to cash levels. And that is what's been fueling this cattle rally here recently. So look for that to remain the same until those cash prices start to tumble. I don't really see this cattle market going away anytime soon.
And then what about on the hog side of things? How'd they fare today?
Hogs followed through with the cattle as well today. They were up nearly $2. So really strong day in the entire livestock sector. Hogs have been one of those markets that has also been really resilient, kind of quietly in the footsteps of the cattle markets. Obviously, everybody's talking about the higher feeders and fats, but hogs have quietly really been having a good couple of months here and trading higher as well. So don't sleep on the pigs here.
All right. Well, Sam, if folks want to get some more advice or look at some of their options and want to talk to the folks at agmarket.net, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Best way would be to visit our website at agmarket.net, or you could give us a call here in Normal. Be happy to chat with you. 1-800-779-1515.
All right. Sam Trainor's been our guest here today. Sam, thanks for the insight. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot.
And that's been a check of our closing market analysis. Let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen.
At the close, September corn was down 5.5 at 381.5. Soybeans down 3 3/4 at 971.5. Soybean meal unchanged at 277 even. Soybean oil down 63 cents at 53.77. Chicago wheat down 8.5 at 508 1/4. Kansas winter wheat down 12.5 at 504 1/2. Kansas spring wheat down 11 1/4 at 502 even. Minneapolis spring wheat down 2 3/4 at 570 1/4. Oats down 10.5 at 328 3/4. On the Merck live cattle up $3.37 at 234.27. Feeders up 5.65 at 341.05. Lean hogs up 60 cents at 108.77. Pork cutouts unchanged at 115 even, and Class 3 milk up 6 cents at 17.39.
And that was a check of our closing market recap, and that brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com, as well as follow us on Facebook, X, and our YouTube channel. Don't forget about the free podcast. You can get market analysis sent 3 times a day right to your mobile device, openings, middays, and closings. You can find out more at iowaagnet.com or where you find your favorite podcasts, such as Podbean, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, and Spotify. From the iAaron Studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Andy Peterson, Mark Magnuson, Riley Smith, and Ashton Jolly, we thank you for watching. This is Ag Matters PM.